It's been 2 years since Michael Joseph Vaughn, lovingly referred to as Monkey, went missing. He was last seen on July 27th, 2021. At the time of his disappearance, Michael was 3 feet 7 inches tall and he weighed 50 pounds. He has blonde hair and blue eyes. He was last seen wearing a light blue Minecraft shirt and black boxer briefs with lime green stitching. He also had on size 11 flip-flop sandals. He was last seen around Southwest 9th Street in Fruitland, Idaho. This photo was taken 1 month prior to his last seen date. If you have any information concerning Michael, please contact the Fruitland Police Department dispatch at 208-642-6006 or email tips and leads to findmichael@fruitland.org. Here is a short clip from Michael's parents explaining the timeline surrounding when he went missing, and I'll go into that in further detail a little bit later in this video.
Tyler, can you walk us through just that night? I know you were home with the kids. Can you just walk us through everything that happened last July?
Went back to change bug. Michael was playing on his Switch. She was sleeping, so it took a minute for me to rouse her. And then I changed a diaper and ordered pizza. Probably took me, 15 minutes maybe. And came back out and went outside to smoke, and Monkey wasn't outside, so I figured he was inside with his brother, wasn't inside, and then I started to freak out, and it's all kind of a blur from there, just running all over the neighborhood. And tickle.
Hi, Pickles.
Did you,
What time was that?
I ordered the pizza at 6:40. I really couldn't tell you any other timestamp behind besides that with 100% certainty. I don't even know if that's when I entered the order or when I finished the order or what. The receipt said 6:40.
and were you in the house when you ordered, or were you outside?
No, I was in the back bedroom with Bug.
And following, when you realized that you didn't know where Michael was, what did you do then? Did you knock on neighbors' doors?
I came outside and I looked down the street and I hopped in the car and called Brandy and drove to the splash pad and then all over the neighborhood, walking, running, driving. Like I couldn't tell you where. I didn't leave the neighborhood, but all up and down this 8th Street complex, we were both all over.
Some of the people that like to speculate are wondering, well, why did you call Brandy? Why didn't you just call the police first? What was your thought going into that? Obviously it probably wasn't rational because you were anxious. But can you just explain a little bit about your process in that way?
I was scared, and she was the first person I thought to call. I needed her home as fast as I could because I was panicked and out of my mind.
Just going off of that question, I'm sure you guys see a lot of stuff online as well. Last person to see is people speculate about that. What would you say just to people to help clear your name a little bit?
Yeah. Anybody that's looked into the timeline, I feel like there was no time for me to do anything. Not to mention I didn't leave the neighborhood besides in a cop car for 2 or 3 weeks. There's thousands of people everywhere. There's nothing that I could have done. And I don't know how some people don't see that, but.
Talk to me about your relationship with Michael.
Yeah.
What was he like to you?
Is, sir, is.
What is he like to you?
He's my best little buddy. We do, comic books, monster trucks. He's the sweetest little boy in the world. He was always trying to help.
Oh.
He's perfect with his sister. They have an amazing relationship.
Both the sisters.
Both the sisters. He's a wonderful, wonderful little boy, and he doesn't deserve this.
What can you tell Buggy after it's been this long? I mean, how do you explain to such a small child what's going on? And I know it's really hard to answer, but how do you tell her?
We can't say when our older two go to their dads that they're bye-bye right now, because that's the only thing that I could figure. I for 2 months I didn't know what to tell her, and she had just really started talking at that point, and so we don't say bye-bye because Monkey is just bye-bye right now, and he's going home. He'll be home. He's just bye right now. So
Does she ask where he is?
Pick up his pictures and give him kisses. Set him up in front of the coffee table and watch TV with him.
she pulls out his Batman cape and
She misses him.
She seems like a very headstrong little girl.
oh yeah.
I wonder where she gets that from.
She
I don't know where she gets that from.
Looking back, as we approach the 1 year mark, what do you, besides finding Michael, bringing him home, what would you like to see law enforcement? What would you like to see the community? What would you like to see the world continue to do?
Keep the space out there. Don't let the story go away.
Bring him home.
Bring him home.
And
Hope that, somebody finally sees one of these, or somebody finally gets the courage to come forward and give that tip that leads us to him, or maybe the person that has him, drop him off at a hospital or a police station or whatever. Just let him come back home.
You mentioned hope. What does hope look like right now?
the strength with law enforcement and our community members and our family. All of us standing strong, that none of us are going to stop. Not a single one of us will stop. Michael is going to come home, and we're going to do the best we can to help others as well.
The following is an article done on Michael Vaughan from February of 2023. Brandy Neal, the mother of missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughan, sat in her living room on a cold January day wiping tears from her face. Neal moves to make another attempt, like she has done so many times before, pleading for the return of her 6-year-old blonde, blue-eyed son she calls Monkey. Please keep sharing his beautiful smile, beautiful face. He's out there somewhere, and we need him home. Don't forget about him, Neal said. A week before, Neal picked up on the first ring to schedule an interview in order to keep Michael's face in the news. Things had gone quiet in the last few months. How are you? I'm upright. On that day in January, when Neal sat before the cameras, she sat next to Michael's monster trucks. His pictures and his stuffed animals, a blanket with his face rested beside her on the couch. Occasionally, Neal would glance at his toys when speaking about her son, her eyes welling up with tears. It's been over 500 days, she said, since her family has seen Michael. He went missing from his neighborhood in Fruitland, near Southwest 9th Street on July 27, 2021. Neal counts every day that passes by. Neal just wants to hear Michael say, "I love you, Mama," one more time. It was the last thing she heard him say to her, she said between quiet sobs. Neal talks as she plays with her bracelets nervously, which have Michael's name printed on them. Someone still knows what happened that day. It's not fair, Neal said. You have watched us for 545 days, and you haven't said a damn word. We have to wait and wait and wait and still take care of our family. It was like any other day in July when Michael was last seen. Neal previously told KTVB that her husband Tyler Vaughn was at home with her children. Michael was on the couch playing with his Nintendo. Vaughn went to check on Michael's little sister, who they call Buggy. In her bedroom, Vaughn ordered a pizza and came back out to the living room. Michael was gone. Vaughn called Neal, who was at work. Neil sped home and she saw police at the park when she pulled into the neighborhood. Neil said that neighbors witnessed Michael in his front yard and on the street in the moments before he disappeared, even attempting to talk to neighbors. He was friendly, she said, but it was unusual. He has wondered a few times, but it doesn't make sense, Neil said. That night and into the week ahead, searches ensued. The community began paving their way on foot through the farm fields, through the streets, looking into bushes and storm drains, checking in trash cans, under tables, in park bathrooms, anywhere that a small child could hide. Michael was last seen wearing a blue Minecraft t-shirt, dark blue briefs, and blue flip-flops. He was 5 years old at the time of his disappearance. Fruitland Police, the National Guard, Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, even other law enforcement agencies united to spread their resources across the rural town of Fruitland. It was originally believed that Michael wandered off, but in November of 2021, Fruitland Police Chief J.D. Huff said during a press conference that there was an increased probability Michael was abducted because police made little headway in ground searches. Neil said they brought canine dogs in, which traced Michael's scent to the end of the road. "I've walked every inch of this town," Neil said. "I've literally worn my feet to the bone." The entire family was called in for a polygraph test, during which police kept them all separated. Police showed the family a timeline of Michael's disappearance, which Neil said she couldn't even believe they were able to put together. Right after the family took polygraphs, a large semi-truck was revealed with Michael's face on it to drive across the U.S. to create more tips to his potential whereabouts. Idaho State Police and the FBI eventually became involved. Every day since, Neil says she gets out of bed, she goes to work, she takes care of her family. But the grief and the struggle of missing Michael, mixed with her anger and frustration, intertwined with having to be a wife and a mother, can be too much. Holidays and birthdays have passed. Michael's 6th birthday was on June 24th, 2022. This article was before his 7th birthday, which was just last month. There isn't a second that goes by without Neil thinking of her son. "I've just been a mess," she said. Fruitland Police have briefings every day where they talk about Michael and the next steps, Huff said. He previously told KTVB that his entire team is extremely emotionally invested in the case. Neil said it's clear that the police support their family and care about Michael just as much. She points to a stuffed monkey sitting on a shelf across the room. It's tied with a ribbon that the entire Fruitland Police Department signed. "They've become family," she said. Fruitland Police maintained their work was never over. Regardless of the little information they shared, the department continued to put out press releases. Huff continually told the press there was not much he could say. "It's still an open investigation," he said, "and releasing additional information could compromise the case and justice for Michael." Then, during a press conference in the summer of 2022, police dropped a small piece of information. They were back in the Fruitland area investigating. It came on a brisk day in mid-November of last year, a break in the case. Police arrived at the Vaughn family home that morning. Neil expected it was like any other visit the police pay the family, to check in with them. But when Neil saw the chief of police walk in the door, she said her stomach sank. They spoke calmly when they told her an arrest had been made. Police said to stay inside the home, she said, and hunkered down. Police told her they had received a credible tip that Michael's remains could be in a backyard nearby, and they were going to excavate every single inch. Huff later told reporters on the scene that they continue to search for Michael's remains, marking the very first time that the media learned he may no longer be alive. A 2-minute drive from the family home, just diagonal across the farm field that was searched many times, lived Sarah and Stacy Wandra. The couple's backyard was being torn apart. Multiple law enforcement agencies surrounded the home at 1102 Red Wing Street with shovels, human remains dogs, and heavy machinery that was digging in the dirt behind the home. The dirt was piled into a large truck where it was driven off-site for evaluation, police later said. Neil said she sat out in the street for hours watching the truck go by with the dirt, come back without it, and then leave again. She wanted so badly to just go over to the excavation site, but she stopped herself. Sarah Wandra, 35, was arrested on November 11, 2022, and charged with the failure to report a death. Huff previously said their investigation found Sarah Wandra had knowledge of Michael's death and didn't say anything to law enforcement. Stacy Wandra, her husband, has not been charged in connection to the disappearance of Michael, but he remains in the Washington County Jail on firearm charges. That credible tip came from another person inside the home the Wandras lived in, Huff said. Neal said she had never seen or met the Wandras, but when the search was underway for Michael, she left flyers on their door. Sarah Wandra was later seen on TikTok videos in October of 2021 in front of Michael's missing person flyer, which was hanging on a refrigerator door behind her. Sarah Wandra previously told Payette County Judge Brian Lee at her initial appearance hearing that she understood the charges against her, but that it's not correct. Wandra's parents lived directly around the corner, but when KTVB knocked on their door, they didn't answer. Days went by, and then crews stopped excavating. Police said they planned on searching inside the home after they were done digging. No stone went unturned, but police packed up their shovels and gear and headed home. I would like to sit down and have a conversation with Sarah Wandra face to face, Neal said. There will be a time. Huff let out a breath when he approached his podium on December 1st, 2022, for a press conference to announce the results of the excavation of the Wandras' backyard. He nodded at the media, who were anxiously awaiting answers. Back at the Vaughn home, Neal was surrounded by her family. Huff announced that Michael's remains were not found in the yard. But he said something else that made listening ears perk up, that police believed Michael's remains were buried there, but later moved. Unexpectedly, police announced the identities of 2 more people thought to have first-hand knowledge in the abduction of Vaughn. Brandon Shirtliff, 30, believed to be somewhere in North Dakota, and Adrian Lucien, 32, believed to be somewhere in Toledo, Ohio, or California. Shirtliff and Lucien were living in the Wandras' home at the time of Michael's disappearance. The window of time for cooperation is coming to a close, Huff said. Shirtliff has a warrant for his arrest in Canyon County, but the charges do not allow for the extradition from North Dakota. Lucien has a lengthy criminal record in multiple states. Huff also announced that their department has made contact with the 2 men, but didn't elaborate further. However, Huff believes these aren't the only people who have knowledge of what happened to Michael. All those who have knowledge of Michael's disappearance and have failed to report or hindered our investigation will be pursued, Huff said. KTVB reached out to Lucien and Shirtliff, but never received a response. One phone number listed for Lucien seems to have been disconnected. More than a month later, on January 26th, Fruitland Police provided a slight update on their Facebook page. They wrote, police recovered several pieces of evidence at the Wandras' home. Some of those pieces have been sent to a private DNA lab for further analysis. That process will take time, and we are patiently waiting for results, the post said. Sarah Wandra was found mentally unfit to proceed last year. She was committed to State Hospital South in Blackfoot on December 6, 2022. The commitment order indicates she was found unfit to assist in her own defense. Proceedings were placed on hold. Sarah Wandra's public defender asked for more time in the state hospital in a January hearing. Her 90-day commitment period ends February 6th, prompting a status hearing that day and then a preliminary hearing on February 7th. Where is Shirtliff? According to his mother, Tina Morelli, he is in North Dakota, and she knows his location. Morelli told KTVB via Facebook that her son is not running and has nothing to hide. We have all been cooperating, but this has outright turned into total harassment of Brandon and our family. It used to be innocent until proven guilty. Now it's guilty without proof. They are even pointing fingers at me and telling me I'm lying and hiding something, she said. Morelli claimed she opened her home up to police when they came knocking. I gave them food and water, prayed with them, and allowed them to run their dogs and people through my house and yard. They did find my toilet was leaking, which I'm grateful for, Morelli said. She claims their cadaver dog smelled the poop outside near her vent and crawl space, which was near her leaking toilet, she said. Public Relations Director Mark Sullivan works for the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, a team that has been very active in the search for Michael. Sullivan consulted with canine experts on his team who told him that no, cadaver dogs do not alert on human feces. Sullivan said that he's never heard of a canine dog being trained to find feces. Each dog has a very specific reaction that it does when it does what it's trained to do, he said via text message. The untrained human may not know or recognize when a dog alerts its handler. They came back with 17 cars, dogs, and shovels and dug where the dog alluded to the following day. They found nothing but my leaking toilet, Morelli wrote. We have cooperated fully since this all began. Our attorney will probably be calling a press conference for all this slander. KTVB asked why Shurtleff hasn't come back to Idaho. Morelli said his attorney is handling it. I know my son's heart. He loves kids, animals, the elderly. He has such a tender heart. He's always giving of all he has. He would give his last morsel of food or his only shirt. He just always seems to choose the wrong type of people to be friends with, Morelli wrote. Huff said he could not elaborate on Morelli's comments due to the nature of the investigation. KTVB went to Morelli's home in Kuna to speak to her further, but she did not answer her door. Police said in the December press conference they had searched a home in Kuna without a warrant, but did not elaborate. Law enforcement does not need a warrant if the homeowner lets them inside willingly. Angeline Hartman, the Director of Communications for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, said their team has worked diligently with the Vaughn family and law enforcement since Michael was reported missing. We try to give the family space, Hartman said, but really it's about letting them know we are here for them if they need anything. Hartman said in her experience, this case is different. Our goal is no matter what the predictions is in any case, we want to know we are here to support the families in any way. You just never know how a case is going to turn out, she said. Hartman said she feels for Neil and her family. It has to be torture. In any missing child case, NCMEC encourages families to continue speaking out and keeping the missing child in the public eye. Hartman said it's important that the media attention continues. How is it possible nobody saw what happened to Michael? Hartman said it only takes a second. She stated that in most missing cases, the child is recovered, whether it be quick or take some significant time. More than 90% of missing children are found, she said. If a child is not found in the first 48 hours, it's important to still keep looking. For years, there was a misconception that something bad happened if they weren't found in a certain amount of time. It may or may not be the case here. Stranger abductions are extremely rare, and what happened to Michael is also rare. Every minute counts, she said, and missing children cases need to be taken seriously. When it does happen, it's shocking. People think it happens a lot more than it really does, she said. When NCMEC learned police were searching for Michael's remains, they were devastated. I think it was silent for most of the day, Hartman said. We were all heartbroken. The impact on the small town could be taxing for the rural area of Fruitland, but Hartman said the vigor of the community really speaks to the support and care surrounding Michael and his family. These communities band together. It's really something to see. Everyone has embraced this family. Fruitland Chief of Police J.D. Huff maintains that the department's interests are solely to find justice for Michael. Huff declined an interview, but he said he still wants to be transparent, and there will come a time for that. For now, he said, he just wants to maintain the integrity of the case. Neil keeps Michael's bed the same. It's next to his parents' bed, lined with his toys, blankets, and stuffed animals. For a while, Neil said she could barely do laundry. She would see one of Michael's shirts or socks and break down. She held up a small shoe. The police have the other one, she said. Neil stated police also have some of his favorite clothes and his favorite blanket for DNA. Putting his shoe back in the closet, Neil walks back into the living room and points to a table with pictures of Michael resting on top. She says Buggy will pull the pictures off the table and speak to Michael, her older brother. She'll get sad. She will say, I miss Monkey. Neil says she sees so much of Michael in her. All of her questions about the world and her vibrant, energetic personality mirror her brother. Neil brings out a gift bag filled with newspaper clippings, letters, and mail. Each one she saves. Letters from all over the U.S. and even the world are addressed to the Vaughn family. She opens a gift revealing a small stuffed animal named Kiwi. It's from New Zealand, she said, for Michael when he comes home. On April 14, 2023, a motion was filed by the state of Idaho to dismiss the charges against Sarah Wandra. The charges were dropped without prejudice. which means they can be refiled and still move forward to trial. Sometimes this happens when officials are seeking more time to make a case stronger, find more evidence, or question other witnesses. And finally, today, July 27th, 2023, 2 years after Michael Monkey Vaughan went missing, we have this update from Fruitland Police. The search continues for Michael Joseph Vaughn, now age 7. On the second anniversary of Michael's abduction, the case remains very active. Our work has not stopped. Our ground searches have continued as recent as this month, and we continue with the arduous task of filtering through new tips and leads. This investigation is moving into a new phase as investigators have submitted this case along with a probable cause affidavit to the Piatt County prosecutor. As a result, any inquiries regarding this case will be referred to the Piatt County prosecutor's office, 208-642-6096. The community support has been remarkable, along with the unwavering patience with our team. We are committed and our tenacity steadfast. To date, the Fruitland Police Department has received over 2,000 tips and leads. If someone has or learns of information that can help find Michael, we want that information. We continue to ask that you remain vigilant and please share the poster linked below. I have personally followed Michael's case since day 2. I didn't hear about it until the next day after he went missing. One thing Brandy has said repeatedly since the very beginning: please share my son's face. If you're going to talk about him, you're going to talk about me, or anything pertaining to this situation that our family is going through, share my son's face. So please, even though this is being sent to the prosecutor, there are still unanswered questions. Share Michael's poster, share his face, and hopefully soon we'll get some answers and we can seek that justice that Michael and his whole family deserves. I'll close this out with a clip of Brandy from Crime, Lines, and Lies. This was an interview she gave this morning.
What do you and Tyler have to say to anyone that might have knowledge of where Michael is at this time, 2 years later?
How dare you? How dare you let us sit here and suffer every day? And to let Michael suffer, not to be with us, to be with his family, to be where he's loved. To not step forward and own your truth. You're cowards. And I pinky promise. I won't stop. We won't stop. Our family, our community, law enforcement, the truth is coming. And you know it. I won't give up. I will never give up. Michael is coming home. I have said that from day one, and I will say it till my last breath. And I will make sure that Michael gets the justice he deserves.
And in the words of Kyron Horman's mom, don't sleep.
No, don't.
Because we're
Because
coming.
I haven't.
Don't sleep. Don't sleep.
Nope.
I
I hope
you know that this
you look over every minute of your shoulder and see my face. You have answers. You have knowledge. It's time. It's beyond time. The first hour, the first minute, the moment that you thought you had the right
to destroy our little boy's life and our family's life. You lost all of my humanity to you. So just know that justice will be served.